So I'd like to welcome everyone here. So let's our folks just kind of go around. Just start over here, just our name, our role in the district, as far as folks that work for the district.
Joe Martin, Director of Technology.
Gary Versvoice, Secretary of Education.
Ryan Burns, Director of Communications. Shelby Stormer, Director of Human Resources.
Brenda Haskell, Director of Quality Improvement. Denise Pierce, Director of Business Services. Dana Thayer, Director of Nutrition Services.
And Kim Edwards, one of our other board members. Let's see, get some big check. Volunteering for she's still looking for that too. He's been looking for a while. Ron?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Ron Jewell. I work with the district's adult education and literacy program.
Stephanie Satterfield, Dr. Lipscomb's assistant. Sue Bass, Miller Center.
Chris is running.
Bruce Wade, Miller Center.
There we go. He stood around the back. So, and we just want to welcome everybody. Glad to have you. I'm kind of crisp fall, or starting to feel a shade like winter possibly, but anyway, just glad to have you here. So we're going to give an update, construction projects at the high school and Capital City High School. We're going to touch on our boundary lines and that process where we are. We're just going to touch on our buses and as far as with our routes and just kind of touch some things we're exploring and looking on that. So to begin with, on Capital City High School, we bring up our website. We can maybe go, if you've not been at Jeff City High School, or if you've not driven by, I do not encourage you to try to drive on J Drive, because it won't happen unless you have some, unless your monster trucks could maybe try to get through there. But it is changing dramatically. It's neat to see the change that's evolving. So I encourage you, as far as Union, driving by on Lafayette and taking a look. So we'll get into the weeds here a little bit and some updates on that. But it's changing daily, and in between the buildings. This year's Capital City, but I want to touch first on just with the Jeff City High School. So this here's on our website. Could you get paused? Or just go back, or click home, or there we go. So anyway, Carrie, would you give just kind of a Jeff City High School, something Mitchell here with that whole school. Would you just kind of give an overview? And we've shared this before. The challenge, the greatest challenge right now is we're continuing to have school and trying to have it at a high level at Jeff City High School while you're having construction. So it's no different than at your house. You've got to renovate, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Our staff truly came together. It's been awesome to see that. But we're asking folks to take different routes, and it's a process. We're working there. Carrie, could you give an update?
Sure. Like Dr. Lipscomb said, the schools are starting to take on their own identity, not only in the architecture, new construction, and significant renovation in the other additions, but obviously the color, the mascots, the logos. That's neat to see that stuff coming along. We continue to see local contractors' trucks on site, which was a goal of this project. That's a very good indication of local participation. The other thing is the contractors that are people that come from other communities that are also working here. They always tell me what their favorite restaurants are. So my point is that's a secondary effect of this project going on. All competitive bidding is virtually complete. I think there's one more blazing package to bid, but all the bidding is effectively finished. So work progresses on the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price. Dr. Linthicum mentioned between the two buildings, that is a war zone. Everything that was there is gone. The pavement, and students are beginning to be wrapped around the construction site. So that'll last till the end of 2019. We'll no longer be able to go between the two buildings. There's a route for pedestrians along Union Street, and there's a route north of the building up by the wrestling building. So that'll be something we continually watch, particularly as weather conditions change over the winter. But that will last to the end of the project. And as Nat Voltor said, safety remains the number one factor there. Area G, which was along Lafayette Street, is now complete. The interior, all three levels of that are complete. Work remains on the little theater, but I can tell you that folks that have toured the facility, faculty and people that used to work there, are surprised how dramatic the change is in the renovated area. So that's being received very, very well. Likewise, we finished Area G. It's construction. We've moved into Nichols Career Center and the connector between the two buildings. So the renovation of Nichols Career Center, the first floor, if you were to walk in there, it's unrecognizable today. There's so many walls that are gone. And likewise, it's simultaneous to that, the work between the two for the connector and building entries, that work is broken ground and will continue for some time. The swing classrooms continue to be used, the top of Area G and the 10 classrooms out in the parking lot and the trailers. So at any given time, now we've got 20 classes worth in temporary facilities rotated through as their area of the building gets renovated. And frankly, that requires an enormous amount of cooperation and collaboration between the construction trades and the school district staff and maintenance staff. That's been going very, very well. After the Nichols Career Center is finished, we'll move back to Area F, which everybody knows that's the science classroom wing. What else can I tell you? Simultaneous to construction, there's another design effort going on, and that's the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So just like the building required a lot of input from the owner, so does the FF&E exercise. So that is in design, receiving input from staff, and that would be another opportunity for local providers to provide furniture and equipment for the project. What else? Oh, the shelters, the storm shelters. The structural concrete has started over at Capital City High School. It has not started JC High School because, well, I guess it's just started. At Jeff City High School, that is the auxiliary gym is the shelter. So we've broken ground on that. At the Capital City High School, there are some areas of structural concrete and locker room and shop spaces that is the shelter on that site. Regarding percentage of complete, on Jefferson City High School, we are, as far as funds expended, we are about 15% complete. That's a hard one to get your arms around because some areas haven't even been started yet at Jeff City High School. So just the dollars spent to the contract is about 15% at Jefferson City High School. The only work remaining in Area G will happen next summer. That's replacement of all the windows. So along Lafayette Street, that's all newly renovated and looks fantastic. We will have to come back next summer, replace the windows, and take the air conditioners out of the windows. There is new HVAC in that area, so as the places are finished, the HVAC comes online, but we aren't removing the air conditioners until the window project is completed next summer. Oh, today or yesterday, the first layer of asphalt is going down. It's hard to believe the first layer of asphalt is going down at Capital City. There's 2 layers of asphalt, so they put a base layer down, be able to drive on that, and then another layer goes down when it's finished. So the drive off of Creek Trail and around the Job Shack trailer, that's all being paved now, which is really exciting. While that's going on, the anti-erosion and storm sewer management stays in place. That's being very closely monitored by the construction manager as well as city code staff. In terms of complete at Capital City High School, it is about 31% complete. It's not in the draw yet, but it's 31% complete in terms of dollars spent. The goal is by Thanksgiving to have it under roof. That will dramatically improve the conditions of the folks working on the school in there. So again, that's 31% complete. That means that some things are well above 31% and some things are well below 31%, but the average of the entire job is that. Examples would include like site clearing is 100%, The earthwork is 66%. I know we've moved a lot of ground out there. The reason there's another big wave coming is for the practice field. So the initial earth moving was for the building. Now the work for practice fields remains. Site utilities are 66% complete. Earthwork is 100%. Structural concrete's 82, precast is 76, structural steel is 83, and sheet waterproofing is 83. So all those are above the 31%. And then other areas that are still at a zero, and those would include roofing, wall panels, doors, glass, paint, flooring, ceiling, lighting, HVAC, and technology. The first wave of students will enter the building with one floor of classrooms complete, and also complete will be the kitchen and administrative areas. So basically a third or a little more than that of the building will be occupied first, while the rest of the classrooms and the gym come online by the end of 2019. Testing and inspections remain a daily thing. There are testing and inspections for critical systems required of the contractor and testing agencies. It's also being reviewed constantly by the municipal code staff, and that's all going very well. As areas are finished, the design team does a punch list, which is anything that needs to be fixed or touched up before it's turned over to the owner. So the design team, we are doing punch lists as areas finish, and the city is doing temporary certificates of occupancy as areas finish. So it's a lot of collaboration with the city. As areas of JC get finished, they come over and inspect, and as things go into Capital City, they come over and inspect. So there's a ton of collaboration going on between all the disciplines, and I can't emphasize enough when people that haven't been on there, we're in the buildings on a routine basis daily, but when somebody comes in that has not been in there, it's shocking to them, whether it's a staff, a faculty, alumni, somebody from the public. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Any questions here while we're talking as far as with the JC High School construction line, while Gary's here? What questions do you have? Any at all?
Did you have any dates on the new high school? Dates?
Days as far as opening or?
Yeah, opening.
Well, I'll back up here. Well, we hope to be closed. I think Mitchell's not here in Naples, but I still believe, I was told 3 weeks ago by Thanksgiving, it's supposed to be enclosed. Okay, so that is on a monumental date, so as far as being enclosed, as far as the insides. But we're still on track to open next fall, with final completion of everything by January of 20. So that's 14 months out from now. So
There'll be two completion dates for Capital City. One is for the first wave of students. That's fall this year. And the rest will be finished by the end of the year. So fall is one deadline, end of the year is the second deadline.
Gym will not be, the gymnasium will not be open until January 2020.
well, November 1 is the goal, but as far as being safe, are we still November 1 for our gymnasium, Gary?
We're prepared for worst case scenario. What kind of practice? So our kids just not going to take PE or have any? No, we'll offer PE. Now, we might try to have more sections, second semester, first semester. Sure. We'll have a empty classroom for weight rooms. Hopefully, the football practice facility will be done for grading PE classes. No, there will be PE first semester. Volleyball's an indoor fall sport. Running as a team is working on, where they're going to practice. Really, the big home games, probably looking at TJ like that.
We all have plans in place for, let's say, November 1 opening versus a January opening for both all sports, something as well like basketball, football, pole works. I can only imagine what logistics nightmare trying to kick back and forth between KC and Capital City.
You know, there will be some inconveniences, but I don't think that you'll hear anybody complaining about this inconvenience. At least I hope you don't, about these inconveniences. When we get with $130 million bond from our district. So, you know, we'll make the best of it.
We do have science and gymnasium, as far as, in addition to teaching. Teaching has 6, 7, and 8 grade, as far as activities going on, and that gym is used, like practice early this morning, that gymnasium is used. So it is going to be, it's one of the greatest challenges. We're asking folks to be patient, but as we work out the logistics, for that, we do have science and gymnasium, but it is, you're asking freshmen and sophomores who most do not drive, or practice after school, and how we can shuttle that and make sure we do that in a safe manner while still giving them an opportunity for it. So, there will be on a live camera within 2 weeks, we believe, at Jeff City High School. We have, how do they get the camera, live camera at Jeff City High School? We'll have it on here for a couple weeks, good morning, at Jeff City High School, so you can see that. We're encouraging folks to take a look at it. Here, just hit, there was at the bottom there, you're right there, so. Yeah, would you click on it? We can see if anybody's, well, it's still dark out there this morning, but, and then there's a timeline, as you can see, which is not going to see, as far as the City High School transition, but we'll get a cam, the plans are for that at Jeff City High School, so you can see that as well. Okay, any other questions on Jeff City High School or Capital City High School? Okay, next I wanted to touch on, if you would go to just on our boundaries, we hope to have next week, and I mentioned this at last month's Coffee with Larry, where you can put in your address where you live, and here's the elementary school, here's the middle school, here's the high school, where you go. The criteria that we touched on, the 2 guiding factors, but the number 1 by far is you go to school or you reside. Okay, well, what about, where do you live? That's the first question that our folks will ask. That's based on any special permission. We currently have special permission process. There are always situations. You try to use common sense, and you also realize you're setting a precedent. What does your policy currently say? What have you done in the past? How could you defend that if somebody else wanted to ask the same thing? Those are all the factors working through that. And as I shared before, trying to assess how we currently do that to tighten that process, because we do understand, especially with athletics, at both high schools as far as recruiting, you know, is that happening? Will it happen? I don't want to be naive here, so we want to make sure that we have a process that's tight, that's consistent throughout that process. But the number 1 guiding factor is where you reside. There will be a grace period I shared, and that grace period is driven by we don't want to split families. So if you have siblings attending a school and then a change from, I've shared the example of Thorpe Gordon. So currently, a portion of Thorpe Gordon goes to Thomas Jefferson, and a portion goes to Lewis and Clark. So if a student is a 6th grader, let's say right now, Thorpe Gordon, and next year, starting next fall, they will reside in Lewis and Clark. That's where they will go to provide transportation, etc. But if they choose to stay with their classmates at Thomas Jefferson as 7th graders, they can do so. They don't need to provide their own transportation. They can stay 7th grade, 8th grade. They can go to Capital City High School if they so choose to do that. So working through those scenarios, we're not going to have 48 rules for every situation. The primary guiding is you go to school where you reside. We don't want to split families. And there's a couple of us. So we're going to have 4 or 5 that are being fine-tuned. We're working to have those hopefully here by our December board meeting, to where we can just share. And it's a work in progress as well. You know, we've had folks, excuse me, what about this scenario? You know, we think through, and we've thought through 348 scenarios. We've tried, but there's always scenarios. We're trying to vet that process as we work through that. So here was just kind of an update with that's on our website. So any questions on boundary lines? We hope within a week to where folks, we have that, we're actually poking holes in it to make sure that it's, before we go live with that. So we hope to have that up within the next week. Any questions on that, on our boundary lines and where folks are going to school starting next fall? And this will go into effect next fall. Any questions on that? Okay. The other thing that I touched on that was our bus routes. And so we are currently assessing, we can get better at the bus route, and we know that. So looking at our start times of our schools, we currently, I sent this morning, and I think I've received here from Frank Underwood, we currently have 63 bus routes, and 47 of them are double tiered routes. So they do a double route. We can save money when we do that. If we do just one route, it costs us $45,000, $46,000 just for one route. If we can then have that bus driver then drive a second route, it costs $5,000 for that second route. So instead of having just two separate routes at $45,000 each for $90,000, if we can have them do a second route. But you're like, well, that makes sense. Well, the little wrinkle is the start of school. So our elementary schools, our middle schools, our high school, we have differing starting times. One of the first questions asked to me when I've been in Jeff City about a month. I did the Sunday morning radio with Mark Ellinger and Bob Scribner, and a phone call was, why don't all of our schools start at 8 o'clock? And I said, that's a really good question. I don't know. And so when I came back, I talked to Jason Hoffman, was that we could start all of our schools at 8 o'clock across the district, and it would determine around $1.5, $1.6 million it would cost additional to have all of our schools start at one time. So it's changed over time as far as with our start times. I have here on my phone, and I'll just touch on those, our start times of our schools. The high school starts at 7:50, Nichols at 7:50, JCAC here at 7:50, Simonson 7:50, TJ and Lewis and Clark are both at 8, Bel Air's at 9, Callaway Hills Elementary is at 8, Cedar Hills at 9, East is at 8:30, Lawson 9, Morrow Heights 8:15, North 8, Pioneer Trail 8:15, South 8:30, Thorpe 8:30, West 8:30. Southwest Early Childhood Center start at 8:30. So we have a variety of starting times. So there's a reason why the times that they are, that over time have, how can we do double routes? If we can do a double route, that's ideal because we can save money, and stewardship is one of our 3 pillars. So as we look at our start times, so here's what we're currently doing. We are currently going to assess how can we, if we leave our routes the same, what will it cost next year? And that's what when we figured into the bond issue as far as operating costs to just keep everything the same, what would that cost? We're also then reviewing if we had our secondary schools starting earlier, let's say 7:50, and all of our elementaries 8:50, what would it cost? What if we flip that and we had all of our elementaries starting at 7:50 and all of our secondaries starting at 8:50, what would that cost? So looking at those 3 options, we're not saying we're doing those 2 and 3. Please do not tweet out or the Tribune Phillips saying that we're changing our start times. We are trying to assess currently what they are and looking at options, what would that look like? And if we determine, and we'll communicate through the board, what those options might look like, and then if we determine we want to move forward with that based on costs associated with that, gather input, stakeholder input. I'm sure we'll have a committee. We'll have town halls, we'll invite folks to, because you're not just changing, with the boundary line changes, it was affecting around 150 families. If we look at changing starting times of 9,000 kids, we would be affecting 5,000 kids, let's say. So a lot of families compared to our boundary lines of 150. So it is it's an emotional topic. We understand that because of start times. I've had folks that have already said to me, I moved to this school because I can drop my Susie or Johnny off at daycare at this time and get to my job, so you better not mess with my starting time. Okay, you listen, you have empathy, you try to understand that. While we're still being good stewards, we want to educate folks to understand, hey, we could save money if we did this. We're not just trying to make folks' lives miserable. So we're working through that process. So any questions on that at all with regards to our bus routes?
Do
You got enough bus drivers?
Nope. Nope. Frank, you want to drive? We do not have enough bus drivers. We're short on bus drivers. I got my CDL. I'm going over this morning at 10 to drive a bus, and we're asking folks to, we need bus drivers. And so I wanted to do that. One, it's the first greeting of our kids every day, and as we greet our students, so I want to do that. I'm not going to do that on a regular basis. And they just assess how are we currently doing our transportation. How can we get better, just from my lens? I've already have a different lens of what I've gone through so far. Derek.
Do you see, I think having the new high school will help you that a little bit, because I think there's a fair amount of parents out there that probably don't want their kids to drive to school. One, because they're driving across town. Two, there's not a parking. So you're probably going to see more kids potentially driving to school. Potentially.
Well, potentially. And we do, we think parking will be better just with fewer kids at Jeff City High School. As far as with the downtown traffic during rush hour, that's one part. If you went later, as far as with our students driving, if we started at 8:50, let's say, not fighting the downtown traffic versus starting at 7:50. There's a lot of factors, there's a lot of wrinkles. We're not saying that's the main reason. There's 83 factors, and you just try to weigh all those and the pros and cons. And number one, what does it cost? And when can we ensure a positive learning environment? There's research that says with your secondary kids and high school kids starting later, Columbia, all three of their high schools start at 9 o'clock. I've talked to their superintendent, the process they went through to get there. It was painful, but if they could hit rewind and go back 3 years from when they did that, would they change it? Not at all. They would say, absolutely, they would do it again. But it was painful at the time. I'm not saying that's why we do it, but you look at others that have gone through the process, what worked, what didn't, what would you do different? And we need to look at that. And our district has looked at this in the last 10, 12, 15 years. Jason Hoffman has been a part of some of those. Jason's not with us today. He could give some insight. But it's a sensitive topic, but we're trying to be proactive with it. And bottom line, just say, how are we currently doing it, and can we get better? We're not just going to change for the sake of change, but if we determine, hey, let's look at that and see, and then involve folks in the process and go through that. So, any other questions on that at all? Okay, so here's our start time. Look at you, thank you. So this is on our, where do they find this?
About us.
About Us. So you can go to on our JC Schools, tab About Us, and start in time. So there's all of our schools exist there.
One of the things we're going to hear about some times, and having two kids that have never ridden the bus, my wife was raised like this in school, she appreciates the standards, and she can get from one school to another. You're going to hear a lot of that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also with your secondary, with starting earlier, one that would be a negative on starting later, let's say with the Columbia schools that went at 9, and as we, with a conference here with the 3 Columbia high schools, Jeff City High School, Capital City High School, and Helias and Sedalia, on those start times that if it was later, we've had folks that have said, we want them earlier so my older sibling, older child is home at home when their younger elementary student gets home from school. So we recognize that as well. And those are important topics that we recognize. So we'll work through that.
Having a child that's a sophomore at current JC High School and having a son that's at Thomas Jefferson potentially going to Capital City.
Yes.
Will start time for both high schools be the same?
Yeah.
Will I tell them to drop my son off?
I think we're going to try to have those exactly the same. Am I correct on that, Gary? With all the scenarios and Brian. So, yeah. And same with our middle schools.
Well, it have to because of, start the freshman sophomores and some of the course selections. We're going to have to place kids back and forth to the center.
Okay. Okay, the main 3 things I want to touch on today is just an update on construction, the boundary lines as we look at our transportation and how we can get better. From there, I just wanted to open for questions, and then I thought, I don't know how many questions you may, or hopefully you had them, you raise your hand if you had them along the way, but if you had questions for us. Normal a coffee is, hey, and we have a lot of our folks here, and here are coffee, and as far as questions, if you want to ask them individually in our certain departments, they introduced themselves earlier, and I thought if you had questions for them, or, they're all supposed to have a 30-second elevator speech, so, what are we doing to change the world and make a difference here in Jefferson City, and to have their spiel, and not just a spiel, but to mean it in their heart. And so, unless you have any questions for me, so we can stay here. Yes, Sue. It is not. So, question about Simonson. So, currently Simonson has our freshman class there. Next year, half of those, they will be, freshmen will be as sophomores, half at JC and half at Capital City High School. Incoming freshmen or current 8th graders at LC and TJ will be going to Capital City or Jefferson City High School. So Simonson, one, because of the transition wise, we talked about the gymnasium possibly being used or the need for that. But having Capital City High School instead of Simonson, that decision has not been made. We have a committee of our folks internally, and we're going to give a report to the board of how are we currently using. Obviously, we have a freshman class there, but what are the possibilities for that? What are the costs? Bob Weber is going to give an update here at our November board meeting. I asked him to assess what would it cost as far as renovations to use that as a school building over the next 25 years, and he's going to give an update at our board meeting a week from Monday, the 12th. Is that a week from Monday? He's going to give an update on that. So it's not been determined. We're trying to assess it, and as we look forward, what would be a good steward of tax dollars, while also how can it help us become a premier school district. So, okay, well, thank you guys for coming here. Stay here. We would like you to. It's not, I know we haven't done it this way, and I just thought that would be a little wrinkle. So if our folks, I'm not asking you to get at stations, but if you would just be available here, and we'll stay here as long as you need to, and we're just so glad you guys are here. So, thank you guys again, and please stay and congregate and go from here. So, we'll go from there. So if our folks would